Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs, producers, performing artists, and electronic music industry professionals from around the world. I'm your host, Aaron, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and coming in all the way halfway across, well, kind of almost halfway across, Midwest. I guess it stops right there. From Chicago, we got Ayokay coming in. Alex, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm here for a couple days in Chicago, and it's been good weather so far. I'm in my hotel room, so yeah, things are good. Things are good.
And it looks like you got like an NFT painting over their shoulder. What hotel are you? Now, this isn't live, so don't worry. We're not going to send a bunch of fans to your hotel and they're not going to come running and scream. But where are you staying at?
I'm staying at, it's called City Suites in Wrigley Park, Chicago, and yeah, it's funny. My tour manager, we've got like turquoise walls, and my tour manager was like, any hotel that wants to look trendy puts the walls as turquoise. So that's kind of the vibe of this place. They're trying to be trendy. It's working out. I'm enjoying it here.
There you go. There you go. You mentioned it's close to Wrigley Park. Is it close to? It's baseball season right now, right? Could you go catch a game if you wanted to, or?
Probably. Baseball is my least favorite of the sports, but I'm mostly football and basketball. But yeah, I think I could probably if I was so inclined.
Awesome. And you're not from Chicago. You're based out of LA, correct?
I'm based out of LA, but I'm from Michigan originally. So as soon as we came into Chicago, I was like, we were driving around last night and I just like seeing all the Midwestern people. I was like, I feel like I'm home. This feels like a second home to us. Because like for me, from where I'm from, everybody, like their big adventure is moving from the suburb of Detroit that I'm from to Chicago. This is our big city. So
yeah.
And for my show tomorrow, I have all of my family. My parents are coming in. They're bringing their friends. I have a sibling coming in. I'll have a bunch of family at the show tomorrow in Chicago. So it'll be cool.
And is that the last day of the tour?
Chicago and then Minneapolis, and then done home on Friday. So
awesome.
Sorry,
how many cities has this been on this tour?
I think it's 15 to 17, somewhere in there. And it was a month long, but what was really nice in between, there was like a 5-day break that I could go home to LA. So it felt like it was in 2 chunks instead of being like gone for a full month. Mm-hmm. And it's just like since the pandemic, we've all become such homebodies, you know? So like being gone for a month now feels very different to me than it did, 2 years ago or whatever. Yeah. So it was good to go home for a little bit.
And you actually came through Seattle in May, correct? May 22nd, I believe. At Numos.
Yeah, we were at Numos, and I love that venue. Played there multiple times. It's a great venue. And Seattle, yeah, the music scene there is so good. So that was a really good show.
And now, is this tour here to promote your latest album that just came out, Digital Dreamscape? Is that what we would hear if we were to go on this tour? A lot of that, or is it kind of playing songs from all of your discography?
It's mostly like Digital Dreamscape. So I'm supporting this artist, Emmett Fenn, who's this amazing, electronic crossover person as well. And what's really cool is the day that I released my album on a Friday, and then Saturday was the first show in San Diego. So the second the album dropped, I was like on the road, which was so great. And I would say like the set is like, it was like a 35 to 40 minute slot that I could do. And I honestly, on this time, I worked out a lot of the music that I used to like the older music. So this is like mostly newer music on this one. Mm-hmm. So it's really good.
And if you could describe your music in 3 words, mm-hmm. What 3 words come to mind when you describe this? Because I was listening to it on SoundCloud before the interview for about an hour, and I got all the way up to, I think I got up to Waiting For. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Close Your Eyes and Dream of Falling.
Yeah.
But I know I got through I Still Need You. I know I got to that one.
I love that song. That song's, that's my baby.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, 3 words to describe your style of music.
I mean, I think it's like, some people have like the older stuff was like dream pop, a bit, like it's very dreamy. And I love, another word that comes to mind is escapist. I love that in all of the art forms that I really like. I love like when it's a movie, like for example, the movie Inception, that takes you like out of your world into a new one. And I really like in my music, I like to, at least between the visuals and the music, to like offer just some sort of break from reality for people. So escapist, dream pop, And a lot of, the new album is mostly like house music inspired. So that's another word that I would put in there.
So dreamy escapism house?
Yeah, yeah. Currently, yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the photo to find out the exact song. You'll know it right when I see it, right when I say it. Here it is. Hang on. Okay. Okay, yeah. The Waiting For video. I'm watching this and I'm wondering, was there now, first of all, who shoots your music videos?
So my roommate, actually, who's a videographer, who's so talented, this kid, Jonah George is his name. I came to him with the idea and he was like, I'll shoot all of them. So yeah, all of them are by Jonah. And we shot them. This is a whole story, but we went to Ukraine. Like this was now a year and a half ago, we went to Ukraine to shoot all of it. So pretty wild given current events, but like the experience of like going to Ukraine to shoot all of this, like put it in a very different world, which was really, really cool.
I'm just wondering how you got the fields or whatever how did that transform? How did that color? What?
How did they make it pink?
Yeah, I'm looking at this going, wow. And then kept you two completely like in color, like in natural color. That's not something that's naturally occurring over there, is it?
Sorry, you froze for a second, but the pink thing. You're back.
Go back. So, the pink thing in the Waiting For video. How was that cinematography? How was that created? That wasn't just a naturally reoccurring phenomenon in the Ukraine, was it? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? I could try to switch to my. I'm sorry, I know, I can try to switch to my phone Wi-Fi, maybe, or is it? Do you think it might be yours?
No, we're good. We're good. Hey, it's live. That's how we all do it. I'm on Gigabit Ethernet where I'm at. So
okay, cool. If it gets, I'll try to go. But yeah, the pink grass came from, it was just a normal field. And at the last minute, the color person just made like some sort of switch that turned everything that was green pink. And it was kind of a mistake. And the whole like color scheme for it was meant to be pink. And when we saw that happen, we were like, oh my God, like we have to do this for all the videos. So there are a couple of videos where like things that shouldn't be pink are pink, which is very cool. It adds to like that very like escapist, like dreamy type of vibe.
It definitely hit that, what you said, dreamy escapist kind of vibe. Because I'm just like, this does not look natural. And if you were shooting this in LA, I don't know where this place is at. I've never heard of it before. But yeah, it's awesome. And who was the actress that you used in that video? Because you used her in a number of different things.
Yeah, she's the face of like the whole project, and she was just this Ukrainian model that we had like the production company that we were like was doing it for us, like gave us like 10 like faces essentially to choose from. And the second I saw her, I was like, she is just the perfect fit. There was something that just like I was very drawn to her. I was like, this is the vibe. And she ended up, she's like on all of the album covers and everything. She's like champions the campaign. So her name was Anna, and she was so good. She killed it.
Tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind the song and music video Amnesia. I noticed there was a girl and she's kind of running through the city and she's holding something in her hand. What was that all about?
So it's kind of this idea of there's two worlds that are painted in the scape of the whole, like, so the music videos all come together to make like a 45-minute like story. So on one side, there's outside of the computer, that's the real world. And then a level down is inside this computer generated world. So in those videos, when it's the cityscape, they're running through the computer generated world. And the pink haired girl, who's kind of just the protagonist of everything, brought in letters to hand out to the people that are stuck inside of the computer world, that are like these inspirational letters from the top level. Like she's passing them out so these people that have been living in the computer can read like this like little bit of information from the outside world. So yeah, and I think like trying to paint the story, I came up with the story for everything. We'll talk about individual songs, but I came up with the whole storyboard for this kind of overarching short film that I wanted to create. And then I put the songs, then I ordered the songs how I wanted the songs to go, and then we matched the songs to the video. So the song lyrics don't necessarily have to do with necessarily the video, but it was like the overarching story I wanted to create in the video world and in the music world, and then we kind of sandwiched them together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it's nice when you live with a cinematographer in your house and you can kind of probably collaborate a lot easier on things than it normally takes. I mean, But the fact that you went to basically Ukraine and shot some of these videos. Now, were the cityscapes also shot in Ukraine?
Everything.
Well? Everything was shot over there.
Yeah.
And this is about a year ago, you said?
Yeah, probably a little over a year ago. Yeah, obviously, again, before all the current events happened, there was no, like, it was totally normal. But the reason that we did it is again, it's all just like happened to be such fate and like crazy timing. But my roommate had been going there just for fun. He had made friends kind of in Eastern Europe. He likes to travel a lot. And he discovered that the music, like, the video scene there, production scene, is unbelievable. They're so talented and they do everything for very cheap. So I wanted to do this I pretty much wanted to recreate the movie Inception, like in that world. And he's like, well, we don't have the budget to shoot a movie in the United States, right? That's going to be like $200,000, $300,000 at least, right? On a cheap scale. And so we budgeted it in the United States and it ended up being like $200,000. And then we looked at what it would be in Ukraine and it was like $30,000 or $40,000 for the same thing, and if not better. So we were like, let's just go there for 2 weeks and we'll shoot everything there. And things look unfamiliar enough there that like it will be a bit more, it'll take you outside of, if I shot this around LA, people will be like, oh, that's LA or whatever. And it feels familiar, right? And I wanted it to feel unfamiliar. So like going somewhere completely out of the way was just the way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always find it funny sometimes when, the film companies, they'll film and they'll say they're filming in Seattle, where I'm based out of. Mm-hmm. But you're like, that's not the Seattle skyline. That's not even Seattle police cars. That's what street are they on? And it says Seattle. They might show a Starbucks in there or something. Like, come on. You can't just get away with just Starbucks in an angle and get away with it. But that's awesome. That must have been quite a journey to undertaking to do that. And now, like you said, you came back and, went on tour almost immediately after the album was being released. And I was looking at some of your videos online, and you have quite the stage setup there. You know, describe your stage setup. What does that consist of?
So it's gone through it's morphed in so many ways. And what's cool about my live show currently is I feel like right now it's the first time where when I'm playing live, I don't feel like imposter syndrome where it's like, I want it to be something bigger than it is. It feels finally lined up with what it is where I like aspire to have it, which is really, it feels really good. But so I have 2 keyboards. I have like a little like beat pad, like little like computer controller that kind of wraps around me, kind of looks like a spaceship, makes me look important. And then I have a drummer that is all on electronic drums, which is really cool because I used to have like an acoustic drum player, but all of the drum sounds that I program when I'm producing are so intentional. The sounds are so intentional that like just playing like a real snare or a real hi-hat or whatever on top of the sounds just took it into a different place. So for this one, I was like, I want you to play my exact sounds and just liven them up a little bit with how you're playing them. So it's the 2 of us on stage, and we're both at like our own little like electronic stations, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. The pictures I saw, I was just seeing a lot focused on you. I didn't know you had a drummer on the side that did
he's
that.
Over there.
He's using the Roland V drums or something like that?
Yeah, he's using an SPD pad, an electronic kick, and then like a little electronic hi-hat. And then he has a shaker and a tambourine that he just like real acoustic ones that he adds to that just like, it's really cool. It's unique and cool.
Nice. And do you ever become a different person when you get on stage, or do you become a different person when you get off stage, or is Alex, Ayokay, the same person on stage and off stage?
It's an interesting question. I think I do. You turn a switch on when you walk on the stage, right? Like you could be so tired, like a lot of like when you're touring, right? You're just beat. And a lot of these days I'm like sitting there in the green room. It's like 10 minutes till I go on. I'm like, how in God's name am I going to do this? Like right now I could just like literally just evaporate into my seat. And I'm like, I have to go like perform for 40 minutes, jump around, do all of this. The second you step onto that stage, you're just like in it and you're just like, fully whatever. But I think like, I had this videographer that I know come shoot the Atlanta show. And he had never really seen me play live, but I know him personally. And after the show, he came off stage and he was like, your stage presence and your crowd work has become so good. And he was like, you're so charismatic and like likable on stage. And when he said that to me, I was like, that feels like a really great compliment, because that's how I like to think that I am in the real world, is like, charismatic and like a good vibe to be around. And he was like saying that was like really pushing forward in the live performance too. So like that made me feel like I am the same person. My personality is now coming through on stage like it does off stage, which is like a hard thing to do. And like that's what takes practice, is like getting that to shine through, you know? So
absolutely. We have a lot of action going on down on the street corner right now. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but
no, I can't actually.
I live on one of the last worst street corners of downtown Seattle, and I don't live on the street corner because that sounds kind of bad. But I live up above the last worst street corner called Third and Crime, or I nicknamed it Third and Crime, but it's actually Third and Vine. So the fire engines and police cars like to use it as the thoroughfare to get through the city quickly. Always fun stuff. That's why this is live and never edited. So speaking about live, never edited, and right out there on the socials, I grabbed this off Twitter. We've been listening to so much Armchair Expert on these drives. I'm starting to consider the possibility Bigfoot is real. Honestly, he may have even been at one of the shows. Expand upon that, please.
We were listening to so much music, just like on loop in the first. We've driven so much. We're in a minivan right now, like whipping around the entire country. And we were mostly just running through like our shuffled, like, you know, Spotify's. And we became so sick of that my tour manager was like, I listened to this Dax Shepard podcast, Armchair Expert. And they just like get into the craziest shit. Like it's, you know, like they'll do like an episode on cannibals, an episode on Bigfoot, like, you know, just existential shit, you know? And like when we're going through Boise, Idaho, and we're like listening to like, is Bigfoot real? You're kind of like, oh my God, is Bigfoot real? So like, honestly, it was funny. My drummer was just saying last night, he was like, I'm starting to have really bad dreams. And I was like, I think it's because we're listening to all of these like conspiracy, like the ones we listened to yesterday were, you know, the JFK assassination and cannibalism. And I'm like, dude, like, no wonder you're having bad dreams. Like we should maybe listen to something lighter.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that because I use a CPAP machine when I sleep. Found out I have low level sleep, like the lowest level of sleep apnea. And people told me years I snore. But when I use that machine, I get into a much deeper sleep pattern because I'm not waking up, which means I'm getting a much deeper REM sleep pattern. I've been having some crazy dreams as of late. Like, I mean, crazy stuff when I use that thing. And it's kind of like you wake up and you're well rested because you've gotten such a deep sleep. But at the same time, you're sitting there going, you know, I always think that dreams, and my take on it is that they're alternate dimensions. So this whole multiverse theory, I'm like, I've been talking about that shit for years. You know, like, come on. There's no way, because I can touch, feel, taste, smell, emote, recognize. I've even been able to read words, like piece of paper, and read words. So, you know, I look at it as like another dimension, and I don't want to get all the type of existential and spiritual. And
that's where we are now. We're getting
But when you know, like I'm watching a movie last night. I give the show a plug. I'm watching what's Sword and Bone or something like that. It's a Netflix series. It's got a little bit on the sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. But you go to bed watching something like that, you get into a deep sleep, and next thing you know, you're in this like land, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And you wake up and you're like, what the hell is going on? You know? So,
well, you know what's funny? What's funny about you saying that is I think like a lot of my projects have explored that exact idea. Is like, I really love like the human mind and just like how wild it can get. And so my first album, I've kind of used for all three of my projects that I've released, I've used a version of that concept to explore like a free space where like our mind can go and create everything. Cause I think that that's cool. So to make that make sense. And my first album, In the Shape of a Dream, is about how memories come back to you. When you go to sleep, you'll like remember memories, and like they feel so visceral, and it's like the way of like past times coming back and still living with you in current day. And then in my next project, it was called We Come Alive. For that project, I created these kind of like Where the Wild Things Are monsters that like existed in this dreamscape. That like the album cover was me with these four like Where the Wild Things Are monsters. And to me, they represented different pieces of your personality personified. You know, your like daring side, your scared side, your whatever. And then for this project, I wanted to explore further like that like dream space. And so I was like, I want to go into a computer, because we put so much of ourselves onto a computer now, and like we have this digital persona for ourselves. So I like wanted to explore that, is like in a computer generated world, anything's possible. And so I really like exploring that space. So it's funny that you mentioned all of that.
What are your takes on virtual reality, and have you looked at doing anything in VR?
Yeah, for this project, I really wanted to explore like more because it was so tied with the computer. We really wanted to create some sort of like launch or something that was, in VR space or whatever. We didn't get around to that, at least not yet. But I mean, I love that stuff. It scares the shit out of me, but I think like, what got me thinking about it so much is during the pandemic, we were like living on our phones. You could only have an experience on your phone more than ever, right? And I was like, I just thought it was so interesting. I was like, through a screen, we can experience anything we want. That tends to lean in a darker way for me, is like, that's a little scary. But like, it's just like anything is at our fingertips with that. So I think like there is such a world to go with experiencing things. Like we already are doing so much of it socially with social media, but I think more and more experiences are going to become digitized. So it's terrifying, but I also like think it'd be fun.
Well, we just launched 2 virtual reality nightclubs in Alt Space, and they're being pretty heralded as some awesome builds. And we're looking to do some cool stuff in there. So maybe we should talk about doing something in our VR nightclubs.
Yeah, man, that would be very cool.
Yeah. Now, do you think that you would ever stop making music in favor of another art form?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to stop you. I was going to stop you even before the making another art form. I'll answer that now in 2 parts. First of all, my favorite art form is movies by far. I think cinema brings together all of the art forms into one. It brings visuals, ties it with music, ties it with all of these things. And to me, like when a movie scene has a song paired with it that like come together for you, you'll remember that scene and that movie and the way it made you feel forever. So I think it's super powerful. That's my favorite art form. But in terms of them stopping making music, I was just talking to my drummer about this in the car. I was like, I think a lot of artists don't know when to quit necessarily. And I think for me, I think music is the medium that I've used. I think my core strengths are, I like to think my brain is very like active in fun ways. Like I think I'm like cerebral. So I'm always thinking. And then that paired with, I think I'm very creative. Those are my strong suits. Music was just the thing for those to funnel through. So I think at some point, I after doing this, because I've been doing this, for 7-8 years, not just as an artist, but producing before, eventually my ideas will stop being fresh. And I think when that happens, I want to use those 2 main skills somewhere else. So I don't think I'll make music forever, for example. I'll do something else that I love that's creative, but, maybe not music.
And did you go to college or did you go to school for this, or where did those start? Okay, you're in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I want to go to school for music and this is what I want to do? Or is that I went to school for that? How did you get involved with your music?
Crazy.
Or did it start?
Yeah, let me tell you, this is crazy. Yeah. So I didn't listen to music until end of high school. I just like didn't get into it, was not for me, didn't listen to it. I lived next to a buddy of mine that was rapping at the time. His name now is Quinn XCII. Quinn XCII is the artist name. And he grew up a couple of blocks down the street from me. He's a big pop artist. And he was like, originally he started asking me to record him rapping over beats. And that was my entry level, is I would like take beats that he'd give me. I'd go into GarageBand and I'd record him. That's where it started. But then I went to school. I went to the University of Michigan I just went into the general program. I was like, I want to maybe do engineering of some sort. I'm really good at math, thinking that. One day I'm on a bus going from one part of campus to the other, and I sit on a school newspaper and I like pull it out. And on the front page is this student in front of like this insane music studio, like this multi-million-dollar music studio in front of the whole soundboard and whatever. He's on campus at this studio. And I'm like, wait, what the hell? There's a full-blown studio on campus? That's bizarre. So I start reading it, and it's this program, Performing Arts Technology, that's sound engineering, where it's like the engineering side of music. And so I'm reading this, I'm like, this is everything that I've ever wanted. I love music now, newly, and I've always been good at engineering and math, put them together. And I was like, my mom will be happy with this. It's an engineering degree. It's like, this is a palatable entry point, right? So I apply first year, get denied. And I'm like, I'm not giving up on this. I went one more year and applied again, and I got in. And that was kind of the start for me. And then as that I started producing for that Quinn XCII kid. And as his career took off, we started getting label attention. And then my artist career really branched off when I released my first song, Kings of Summer. So yeah, that was kind of it.
What's been the best business decision in favor of your artist career that you've ever made?
So when I made Kings of Summer, and that song, like it was like right when Spotify was taking off. It's my biggest song, and now it's like certified platinum song, which is crazy to me. It still blows my mind. Is when we were making that, we were at the University of Michigan in just like a computer science room recording, and we recorded it. I remember like when I walked home from that session, he laid down like the chorus, and I walked home from that session, and we were managed by the same guy, this guy, Jesse Corin. And I was like, I first approached Jesse. I was like, there feels something different about this song. And at the time I was really into Odessa, Kygo, that early wave of like chill electronic music. And I was like, there's something that feels different about this. This doesn't feel like a Quinn 92 song. This feels like this could be its own thing. So I asked them, like, what do you guys think of releasing this song? It's my first song, is Ayokay. And they were both like a little hesitant, not hesitant like they didn't want to do it, but they were just like surprised that I wanted to do that. They're like, yeah, like screw it, let's do it. So we released it as my first song. First like 6 months that it's out, it does nothing, like just absolutely nothing. And then it gets added to this random playlist, Canadian playlist on Spotify that filters, then it starts like building traction, like goes viral on Spotify. That adds to a couple more playlists. Then it gets added to like a New Music Friday thing. And then it started going on the US viral top 50 charts and then the global top 50 viral charts. And it was lived on those charts at #1 for like 2 weeks. And like, you know, it had like 15 million streams in 2 weeks. And then that's when I got signed. But like that decision to like ask them to put that song out as my artist name, I mean, I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for that. I never would have probably done the artist thing, honestly. So that was a really wild decision.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but did I hear you were saying you were using the school studio to produce that album?
I mean, like, yeah, I think like it's into tricky territory. I think we were like, I wasn't using like any of we were just like setting up in their rooms and recording because I didn't know how to use any of the equipment. Like, honestly, all of those big soundboards scared the shit out of me. So like I would just set up with my laptop. We just needed a quiet room because if it wasn't that, it was like the closets at my like, you know, my college house. So yeah, we ended up using a lot of not as much the studio. There were these computer science rooms that were just like isolated and like enough soundproof that we would set up there. And we have like a video of the day we recorded Kings of Summer of like in this little computer science room. It was like a crappy room and he's just lays down the course of that song. And yeah, so I ended up using a lot of the stuff. It was great. The other thing that the program did is, because I always ask myself, is like, did I need to go to school to do this or could I have done it elsewhere? The thing that the program did for me is it got me really in the creative world of putting me with other creative people, like-minded people that really drove me to push me to where I was. I think if I didn't do that and I was just like chilling with my like college friends that had no creative ambition, I don't know that I ever would have been as inspired, you know? So yeah.
I definitely know how it is using the school's resources to produce some of your first works that you go commercial. Heck, I think my first broadcast television show that I exec'd onto Fox was done using the school's equipment.
Yeah, you need to do it.
You know, I mean, I managed to also work in student government and got some funding and created the Student Media Services Department, which also gave us more equipment and access to computers and gear to film more broadcast television. But, you know, you got to be resourceful when you're young. You don't have anything working for you. And, you know, I think that was one of the benefits of going to school was, you know, not only getting an education, because the first paper I ever wrote in English 100, I thought I was a genius because I got an A+ on it. I'm like, yeah. 2 years later, I'm writing theses and, you know, I'm bouncing out, you know, 10-page, 15-page theses like overnight. I boom, and I look back at that first paper and I go, "Gosh, I was a fucking idiot." You know, but you know, it also taught you how to do things. I mean, it gave me the confidence to go out and be able to speak, to write, to know, to understand accounting, to understand the business side of things when it comes to business aspects of things. And artists, I found that, you know, sometimes artists, they focus on art and they don't focus on the business opportunities. They don't understand that it's two different worlds. And business is usually, where's my money? Pay me to do the job. And artists is like, but I'm so good. You should be paying me. And it's like, you know. And so I found I could bridge the gap kind of between the two. But I learned a lot in college. I went back to college and now I have like 228 credits and still got to apply for my 2 degrees. And, I know, right? I'm like, but it's just a piece of paper. I'm already in business.
Where'd you go?
I went to two community colleges actually, and there were supposed to be transfer programs into UW Business. And then once I finished the second one, because the second one actually supplemented the first one, so I could graduate at either school. And I'm like, okay, I'm at this road where I went back to school to light a fire under my ass, but do I really want to go take on another $75,000 to $100,000 worth of debt to get a piece of paper when I'm already in business doing what I love doing, and it's not going to increase my bottom line in any way, shape, or form? You know, and this is after already being 75 in debt with student loans that I now don't have to worry about, which is awesome. Taking care of that. So, like, it's a
wild thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you need it. You know, I think everybody has their own path. I know a lot of people that have gotten into like what I do obviously without college. So many people. I think for me, if I went into the world at like 18, I just wasn't ready. I hadn't matured yet. I think I grew up in like a bubble community. Such a beautiful place to grow up, but like just didn't expose me to much. And I think like I needed a couple more years to really get my footing instead of like hitting 18 and be like, shit, I got to like provide for myself. I got to get a job. I think that was like one of the best gifts that I had, is having that buffer in school to like figure myself out before I had to dive in and just get into the workforce, you know?
Yep. Yeah. I didn't go to school till I was 26. I got to kind of party for the 18 to the 20s. And then like,
it's a good way to do it
now. But if I would have gone when I was younger, I would have blown it off. I wouldn't have taken it seriously. I would have burnt out. I'm like, this isn't what I want. You know, because at that time there still wasn't really heavy into video production. They didn't have any. I mean, it was 92. My high school launched the first video production class in the state of Washington in 1992. Colleges weren't even doing multimedia or anything like that at all.
That's crazy.
So when I went in, that was right when Final Cut Pro had just come out, and they had just released the GL1 camera, which was a $2,000 camera that was broadcast capable. So you'd have to get beta cameras to be on broadcast television, where you could go get I think maybe they were $1,000, $2,000. I think it was 2,000. And you got your mini DV tape, plop it in, record your shows, and they were okay to play on broadcast television, because FCC has regulations on what the signal needs to be and all that fun stuff. But long story short, before that, I would have been in a public access world. Hey, nothing knocking public access, but I got my start somewhere. Now, you've literally played some larger scale events, some events. We all know what happens on stage, but can you give us some insight on what happens backstage?
I'm an avid tequila drinker. You know what's so funny is this, like, I just emptied my backpack from the shows, the green rooms. I had these both in my backpack. I just went to a coffee shop to do some work, and I was like, I can't have these in my backpack. So I love drinking tequila before and after. What's interesting about like shows is like there's not really anything that exciting in the green room, because you can't have that many people in there. But for me, before, like, I need like a couple of drinks before I go on stage, and then a couple of drinks when I get off, because it's such a high on stage that I need like a bit of an arc to tailor me on and off. So that's pretty much my routine in the green room.
Well, I will. There is only one interview actually, there's two interviews in the history of the DJ sessions I've ever done that have never seen the light of day. One of them involves a lot of Patron, and was with an awesome DJ by the name of Felix the House Cat. At about 3 a.m. in the green room of a club called the Last Supper Club in Seattle. Yeah, that's on tape somewhere. We'll never, ever, ever, ever see the light of day. And his agent, his road manager that was with him at the time, said, "Hey, do you want to do the interview with Felix before he goes on or after he goes on?" I said, "Oh no, we'll do it after. It'll be okay." She goes, "Are you sure?" I go, "Yeah." Kind of like that Chris Tucker in Fifth Element. Yeah. We'll do it. Bad news. I think what normally would be a 10-minute segment turned into like a 37-minute segment. And I'm just like, there's like 3 bottles of Patron that are empty on the table, because we were partying, drinking. But
I love that.
Love you, Felix. But tequila. So what kind of tequila? I saw 2 bottles there. Do you have a preference on tequila?
Casamigos is usually my favorite,
Casamigos.
Espolone is like the kind of mid shelf that like is really good that I feel like most venues like will provide very easily. So I've been drinking a lot of Espolone. It's kind of been the MO. Yeah. But it's kind of disgusting. I end up by the end of these tours, like I end up drinking it just straight from the bottle and just like no chaser. So I'm just like literally sipping on it. It's disgusting. But a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
It happens. And when you're back home in the studio, do you have a home studio? I assume, and everything.
Yeah.
How many tracks do you produce on a month, and how many end up being released on average? Or when you get to a project, it's like, here I am in the digital dreamscape. I know I want this to be an EP. I know I want 13 tracks. That's all I'm focusing on I guess 11 tracks. I'm just focusing on those 11, or are you producing other stuff around that at the same time?
I wear two different hats now. Now where I am in my career, I do all my artist stuff, and then I do some executive production work for like other artists that I'm just producing for pop artists. So I think in the early stages of making an album or EP or whatever, you're making a lot of ideas. You don't know where they're going to go. You just want to create. Then once it starts becoming clear which ones fit together and what the sound of the project is, you kind of start like focusing, right? Like getting out some of it and focusing. So I think at the end of making Digital Dreamscape, I was really just working on it ended up being 13 songs, actually. You were right the first time, but I ended up just focusing on those 13 and like slowly finish one and then kind of move on to the next. But I kind of have like 5 open, unfinished at a time, and I'll kind of rotate between working on them. But I'm slow. Like I think I put a lot into my production, and so many people, I mean, everybody does, but I'm not one of those people that just cranks it out. If I do it really quickly, it doesn't feel good to me. I need to like really pine over it for a couple of months and put myself into it. So, I mean, like right now I'm working on maybe like 5 songs, kind of just here and there. Who knows what'll actually come out, but it's like, I kind of have probably always like 5 songs that are open that I'm like kind of working on, and then I'll finish one and kind of keep moving on, you know?
Do you have any secret aliases that you release music under?
No, that would be fun. That would be a good way to get like out some of the music that just sits in my Dropbox. But what's cool about TikTok actually is like I want to do more and more of it is like leaking some of these things that just sit in my Dropbox that'll never see the light of day. Cause like, you know, if they have some sort of reaction on TikTok, you're like, oh, then maybe this is something I need to finish or put out. And that's cool because like I end up with so many songs that I love that just never see the light of day, as every musician does, which is sad.
And what is your take on TikTok? I was looking at your TikTok page. I'm like, okay, you got some triple digits, quad digits, 6 digits. You know, I mean, I still I'm still figuring the dang thing out by putting up food videos that I make in the kitchen, you know, and it's like, I make the food video and I add the song to it. I'm like, I laugh at myself going, this is stupid, you know, kind of funny. Yeah. But we're actually taking a whole new social media approach to TikTok and being there. Were you an avid fan of TikTok at first when it came out?
No, like everybody, the label was like, you have to do this. And I was like, I don't even have the app. The time I was like, remember when it was like, oh, it steals all your data. The Chinese like companies are stealing your data. That was like why I was holding out for so long. I didn't know anything about it. Still might be true. But regardless, I was like, I won't download the app. And then finally I was like, fuck it, I have to. They're like making me do it. So finding my like niche on there took some time. And I think when I didn't know kind of my way of creating content that I liked, I really didn't like it. It was a chore. And then I started to figure out a couple of like these ways that like fit my aesthetic, that like felt authentic to me. And once I started like realizing that niche, then it became very fun for me. And now I love it because like I really like what I ended up doing. What I've been doing for the past couple of months is like I go on my rooftop in my house in LA that has a view of the city, and I like sing the songs, like, you know, to these songs that I'm releasing. I sing over the song and like, you know, take a video of that, and it's very aesthetic. That sunset, whatever. And I feel like once I found that niche, I really started to enjoy it because it was like, it doesn't feel like I'm making a cringy thing that it feels really inauthentic to me. But I mean, it's such an interesting thing. Like some of these songs, my biggest TikTok had like 4 million plays and like 200,000 likes or something. And I'm like, this is 4 million people. It was in promotion for my song Amnesia before it came out. I'm like, 4 million people just saw a snippet of this song. Like that is insane. Yeah. So I think, you know, it has a lot of bad ramifications on the music industry. I think the music industry is in the worst place it's ever been in. Honestly, I think it's just so convoluted and scatterbrained right now. So I think that that's like one of the downsides, but it's also, you know, such an inspiring time is you can just log on to a free app, put something on, and before you know it, 4 million people can like have eyes on it. So it goes, you know, it's so back and forth. I mean, I'm using it because it just is the way things are. I wish that it wasn't created, but you know, it's here now. So
I mean, we kind of knew there was going to be a social media evolution. Meta wasn't going to be able to run it forever. Meta bought Instagram. Okay, you got Twitter out there. Who knows what Elon's doing with that? And then you got, you know, TikTok that comes along kind of at this weird period in life where everyone was at home, you know, and going, oh, where do we make videos? And you can't, the music used on TikTok, you probably get copyright stricken on YouTube. You get copyright strikes on Facebook for it. You know, where can you let it live? You couldn't put it up to Twitch because Twitch will video strike their video on demands. So now you get these songs, and there's some artists that have actually gone viral and made it because their song was used in a TikTok and went and be like, whoa. So I'm just a little leery on the TikTok challenges, you know, these things that get out there and get these kids to do crazy stuff. And they're like, the schools have to say, hey, we're banning TikTok challenge. You know, if something goes, you know,
oh man,
crazy,
dude,
man.
I can't imagine what it's like being I had this thought. I mean, being a kid right now is a horrifying thought in general, but like, I was like, you know, I was seeing myself like when I don't know why I had this thought the other day, like a couple days ago when we were on the road, I was like, if you have a viral video, like I think it was because I saw this high schooler play his guitar, song went kind of viral. And I'm like, I'm imagining this kid is a high schooler. He went home one day, he plays guitar in front of his phone, it goes viral. He probably comes to school and everybody knows about it. He's probably like, yeah, like that kid in the school that went viral on TikTok the other day. And like, that's social currency now, you know? And I'm like, that is a wild thought to me. It's like, because really, you know, social media used to be so personal between you and your circles. And I mean, yeah, it started getting bigger and whatever, but like virality like enters a whole new range for it. So you know, it's like being a kid with it is crazy. Thank God I'm like formed and all of my thoughts are formed when I'm getting onto this. And it's like, it's only a sliver of my life. It's not my life. Thank God. You know,
one of my good friends, her son, he says, I want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
He's 11 years old. He's 11.
Yeah, crazy.
I want to be a YouTuber. I mean, it's one of those things though. Is that any different than me being 6 years old and playing with my dad's video camera and saying, I want to be a TV producer. I want to be a filmmaker. You know, most kids didn't even have access to the video camera, and the VCR back then alone in the 80s was $1,000. What is that in today's currency of having that in the home? You know, now we got 4K cameras in everyone's pocket. Instant, it's up. You know, and a platform to share it on too, and a distribution network to put it out there, and then share it on the socials and use a hashtag, which is another powerful item to use. And people go, oh, that's a trending hashtag, you know, and make it big. You know, so
I think like it's the only thing that's tough about it is what kids are chasing is the idea of fame, right? And I think that that's such an American culture thing, is like this, I feel like it's because there's so many people now, there's so much noise. People want to break out of that noise and be seen, right? Like people want to feel seen. And I think that that's the idea of this virality thing. That's the dangerous part. I do think like, you know, the creation of all of this stuff is really cool because it allows people to creatively express and all of that. But, you know, I think of this in terms of music, and I think it's really interesting. So I make electronic music, right? You seem like you're in the game of like interviewing electronic musicians mostly. I think electronic music in 2015, 2016 was the best it may ever be. It was such an amazing time because you had all of these new artists come out, and there were new genres being born every day. It was expanding like crazy. It bled into mainstream. You had, you know, Where Are You Now by Diplo and Justin Bieber being the #1 song in the world. Like that was a very inspiring thing. You hadn't seen that since like Avicii Levels or, you know, some of the David Guetta stuff. That's when electronic music really blew into mainstream. Then once it hit mainstream, you have all of these kids that want to make it, right? Now it's like, oh, this is the cool trending thing to make. Then that paired with all of these apps that have come in the past 5 years to make making music so easy, Splice, you know, all of these like VSTs that sound so good right out the gate. Making music has become so easy that like electronic music now has suffered so much because it became so easy to make it, and so many people were, that it just like became just so oversaturated and boring, you know? And what's now nice about where we're currently at is it in, you know, 20, I don't know the exact years, let's say 2018 to like 2020 became so boring that people left it. Hip hop really took off. That now the people that are remaining in it are the people that are really passionate about it and that do it really well. So you have this coming back of house music that to me is so inspiring. And it's now becoming cool again in a more niche way. But, you know, I think like that's just a long way of saying like this oversaturation can kill the art form a bit. And it's like hard to be mad at that because kids should be able to, if they want to pull up their MacBook and make a song, they should be able to. But it also does kind of kill the art form because it's just so oversaturated with bullshit, you know, and so many people, it doesn't take a massive amount of talent to do it anymore. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that was the one thing that a friend of mine that I started in all this with was, you know, he had a video camera. He could get into the studio and make like a 30-minute or 1 hour episode once every week because he had to share the studio at public access with everyone else. But he'd shoot 5-6 hours worth of content, and then you have to condense it down into to a smaller episode. And when I came into the game, I had Final Cut Pro at my fingertips with a hard drive, you know. So, and I learned how not to shoot a 16:1 or an 8:1 ratio. I'd shoot almost a 1:2. I like to shoot 1:1 or 1:2 ratio. So I go in, know what I want to get it and get out, you know. I don't fall in love with my footage unless it's my second movie that I filmed. We won't talk about that. But yeah, I mean, but the ability to be at a concert, be at a show, pick up a phone, do this really quick and go, and it's done. That's one of the reasons why I love live streaming so much and gravitated towards it in 2000. I was doing it in 2007, but really took it on in 2009 was that from a producer's perspective, I could produce 4 hours of multi-cam live switched footage, interact with people online doing it. The moment I hit stop in the studio, that video was already online with a link ready to go to socials. Yeah. And it lived on there, an archive there on my page. And it was like, wow, I didn't have to take it over here. I didn't have to render it. I didn't have to export it. I didn't have to then social share it. I can share during the show that we're live and people can watch it right there. I can put up the link. And from a production standpoint, it just went. And we were doing that for years until all of a sudden, saying other people weren't picking up the medium. But, you know, 2.5 years ago, everyone jumped online. And from the top name artists in the world to, hey, I'm at home and I want to explore this now. Like you said, how easy it is. Everyone wanted to become a live streamer. Everyone wanted to become a podcaster, or at least it felt that way because you could see the numbers where there was, you know, double or triple digit growth, you know, in these areas. And like you said, it oversaturated, and everyone played in early 2020. Everyone was playing the look at me game. Every other post you'd see on social media was, I'm going live, 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 I'm going live. And I took a step back with my crew. I said, we're going to see how the chips fall on this. Let it go for a few months, see how this progresses out. And then we'll go, okay, now we'll turn our machine on and go forward. Plus, we had to work out a lot of licensing agreements and stuff with Twitch so that we didn't get our channel flagged because everyone's playing in a very weird pool in that, and they're not ready for it, but they'll be ready for it. It'll come. And I think, though, the biggest artist that's going to really succeed out of that, though, is the independent artist that is making their own music. Because they aren't going to have to worry about any copyright flags whatsoever. They'll own it until they sign it off to a publisher or a label. And even then, they might get smart and say, hey, I still want to be able to play this song in my sets and not get flagged for it. And they go, okay, we'll give you the rights to that, or we'll make sure that you're okay. Which is going to be interesting. But I think that live streaming and the digital medium is going to be a huge force majeure for independent artists. I mean, coming out of the gate, like you said yourself, you put it on Spotify, it sits there for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, whoa, where'd this come from? You know, and you never know. I had somebody else, other friend of mine, we were talking, he had a song up for 2 years. And all of a sudden just started charting in like Sweden or something. And he's like, what was it a sleeper? What is it? And it's like, did #1 on the charts in Sweden or something. It's like,
that's crazy.
Okay, that's crazy. You know, and it could just start to cascade roll down, you know, the small pebble down the hill that starts the landslide. So here's a question for you, though. Before we let you get going, a couple questions. What's the sweetest thing a fan has ever made for you? You ever get gifts from fans?
I do, and I feel like I should have a really good answer for this. I feel like that has happened in a really nice way. Hold on, let me nibble on this for one sec. I think one time, I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty positive before a show one time, a fan got me my favorite Taco Bell items and brought them to me. And this time was a time in my life that I was really championing Taco Bell. Now my fast food allegiance has moved to Chick-fil-A. But I think before a show, like a fan brought me 2 cheesy gordita crunches. I'm pretty positive that happened. And that like is just the key to my heart. That's the key to my heart.
But now it's Chick-fil-A.
Now it's Chick-fil-A. I can't live without it. And I'm in the Midwest right now, and my favorite like chain food is Jet's Pizza. Is like it's a Midwest, like it's a Detroit style deep dish, so it's like square, like about this thick. It's not like Chicago deep dish. It's like Sicilian. Best thing in the world, and we grew up near them, and they're here in Chicago, so tonight for dinner I'm getting Jet's Pizza. But Jet's Pizza is like my number one allegiance. Then it's like Chick-fil-A, and then maybe Taco Bell.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure. I think we have Chick-fil-A's out here. I'll check on it. I'm more of a Taco Bell guy. So,
I'm with you on that. I get that.
So is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you get going?
Yeah, I mean, I think check out my album Digital Dreamscape. It released 2 weeks ago from when this is being filmed. And yeah, I think like just a bit talking based on what we were saying, like I think I took on it's because of oversaturation. I was really inspired, and I will continue to be inspired to like make, instead of just releasing singles like a lot of people in the electronic field do, I really like putting together a package of an album that provides something like 40 minutes for somebody to listen through and like live with for years to come. And I put a lot into that. I put a lot into the visual side, the music side, to make it like feel like a little world, like a little thing, a world that like somebody can take little bites off of when they want to. So I put a lot into that. And so I think that is something that people should walk away with. And I'm going to be touring more than I ever have in this coming year. So I think catch a show if you can. That's where this album was designed to be played live. So
did you get a chance to make it to Phoenix by any chance?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, we're based in Seattle, but we're launching a new division down in Phoenix. We work with some nightclubs down there, and I'll probably either catch you here in Seattle or down there in Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm going out again in October through November.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be back out on the road. So one of those two will definitely be on there. So
we'll catch up with you before we leave the ADE this year. Make sure we get you back on the show and talk with you about that. But thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
You're welcome. And on that note, don't forget to go to our website, the DJ. Oh, wait. Where can people find out more information about you before I drop my site? Where can they go for you?
I think TikTok, me, or Instagram. That's where I'm most. That's where I'm most on it. It's just Ayokay at Ayokay AYOKAY. So catch me there, I think.
All right, check him out on TikTok. Check him out on the site. You'll find him everywhere. Ayokay AYO. Wait.
AYOKY.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Alex.
Yeah, take it easy.
And like I was saying, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Meta, wherever we're out there, thedjsessions.com. This is Darren. That's Alex, a.k.a. Ayokay, coming in from Chicago. And we'll be talking to him here and following up with him later on in the year for the virtual sessions. You know what happens on the DJ sessions? The music never stops.